Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1Mby1M Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. 1Mby1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator for technology startups. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue, build $1 trillion in global GDP and 10 million jobs. And in support of that mission, we do these roundtables, these free mentoring roundtables week after week after week. This is the 570th session. We try to bring you guests who can provide insights into particular aspects of the startup life. And we also provide you with actual project-based guidance on your project. So today we have a conversation with Anupam Rastogi. The event is being recorded, by the way. Every single recording of all our roundtables done over all these years, since 2008, are available on the 1M1M Roundtable channel. And on Twitter, we're at 1M1M and at Romana. These are the call-in numbers. It is a roundtable, not a broadcast, so we will have time for conversation. We're going to start today's session with a conversation with Anupam Rastogi from Emergent Ventures. Anupam, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Ramana, and good morning, everyone.
Anupam, let's start by getting you acquainted with our audience and talk a little bit about how you position your fund. But before that, a little bit of your own background of how you arrived at Emergent Ventures.
Sure, yeah. So, Anupam Rastogi. I'm based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been in the technology space for a very long time now. And in terms of academic background, studied engineering, computer science back in the 90s, and came over to the US. I grew up in India, came over to the US in the year 2000. And started a career on the operating side in research and then product management and go-to-market roles at a larger company, and then a couple of startups, which was super exciting. These startups eventually had good outcomes. And during that time, realized that I wanted to actually work for multiple startups at once. And that's how I decided to get into venture and have been in venture the last 12 or so years. And then I can share more about Emergent. We are a seed and early stage venture firm based here in the Bay Area, and we focus. We write a first check at the early stages, very early stages, pre-seed, seed, sometimes post-seed rounds, and we lead those rounds. Typically, these are $1 to $4 million type rounds, and we're focused on the B2B space broadly, and then within that, companies that are focused on what we call intelligent software that gets smarter with use, often is leveraging AI data in a smarter manner, and it could be either across any number of business workflows or in an industry vertical or at the infrastructure layer. So that's what we do, and we have a portfolio of about 35 companies. We're investing actively out of our fund 2.
Okay. Anupam, I'm going to drill a little bit on trying to understand this more specifically, how to work with you. First, how big is your fund 2 right now?
Yeah, so we manage about $140 million. Our fund 2 is a $76 million fund.
Okay. And you said you write checks between $1 to $3 million first check. What do you need to see in a company? How do you define pre-seed, seed, post-seed, whatever, but what needs to be in the company for you to feel comfortable writing a check?
Yeah, and I should clarify, the round sizes we come in are $1 to $3 million. Our own check could be between $1 to $1.5 million most often to start with, and then we continue backing these companies as we see more, as they make more progress. But yeah, to answer your question, what do we need to see? And these rounds names have moved around quite a lot, and different people use different terminologies. But we are, one thing we do is we are fairly comfortable coming in very early. Typically, I'd say our typical entry point tends to be a company which may have, and we are focused on the enterprise space. So these companies often have maybe an MVP, maybe they have spoken with customers, maybe they have some pilots. We're not looking for revenues or momentum at the stage we are coming in at. But really, I'd say the things we're looking for are much more qualitative at the stage we come in at. Team is by far one of the most important things we are focused on. And in the few weeks that we are trying to get to know entrepreneurs more deeply, when we are assessing these companies and they are assessing us, we're trying to really understand the trajectory of these entrepreneurs, of the founders. What are their motivations? We're trying to understand a lot of qualitative areas like resilience, ability to just plow through walls, and then of course their how well do they know the space? What's their level of passion? Then the other big area is of course understanding the market and market readiness of these of the idea itself, and that has many different parts to it. So we often introduce prospective investee companies to folks from our network who could be customers or who could be advisors or are in the space, and we sit through those meetings, and that gives us a flavor for is there a market need for a product like this? What are the customers using today? What are the pain points? Are they willing to switch to something new? What would it take to have them pay for this? What would they pay? We're trying to get a sense for some of those things. And I'd say the third big area, which is really key, which is often under the, it's like the iceberg, but under the water level often, is that, we're also filtering for, do we understand the space and can we add value? And are we passionate about this? That, given that at the seed stage, we end up maybe seeing a very large number of deals and we are only able to do 5 or 6, given that we are a conviction-driven investor. So we are looking for that, essentially we are mutually self-filtering for that, where we have high passion, and the entrepreneur typically sees that when we are working with them on the evaluation, that we have high passion and understanding of the space.
And so I'm kind of reading your response to my question as you don't do concept stage, but you do pre-revenue stage ventures, yes?
Yeah, so we do some concept stage as well. So we have done several companies which were, 1 or 2 or 3 founders and a PowerPoint at that stage. So I'd say everything from there to early revenues. That's sort of the range of stages that we do.
Okay. Could you elaborate on what would it take for you to do concept stage? Because we see very few investors doing concept stage. So when we find one, we try to understand what is what are the criteria that you're looking for?
Yeah. So I'd say along with the other criteria that I mentioned at the concept stage, we are really looking to see also how much market development the founder has done. So oftentimes, even before you build a product, you can go talk to, we come across entrepreneurs who have gone spoken with 20, 30, 50 customers, and they've processed that information in a structured manner, at least in their heads, and they figured out what the needs are, and they can talk to, it's not based on just one empirical experience or experience of 1 or 2 people. It's often based on the experience of 20, 30, 50 people. And I'd say the bar on the other areas goes a bit higher at concept stage. So, some of the usual areas like the domain expertise and prior background that the entrepreneurs have in that space. What kind of a network do they have in that space? Can they crack into some of those customer accounts, leadership skills, resilience. So a lot of the things are the same, but at the concept stage, the only thing I guess which I mentioned was that market development is one recommendation I would give to entrepreneurs, is that really helps a lot. And it'll help you really, the entrepreneurs, really figure out as well if the idea is something you want to do, first of all. And second, often it helps you pivot into specific pockets, new sub ideas come out of it, or you figure out that, hey, maybe what you're originally thinking is maybe not the best thesis, but hey, here is another related problem that comes out of that exercise. So I'd say that could probably be a big differentiating factor at that stage, at the concept stage.
I'll just for the benefit of the audience, I would summarize what I've heard, and that probably is relevant to this discussion from some of your colleagues. Market development, as you said, and kind of pre-validating the market. Often in concept stage deals, the founder or the founder's team come with a pretty solid understanding and domain knowledge of the problem domain that they are going into. And much of the market development is because of that domain knowledge and the domain relationships. And then often people who are doing concept stage ventures are assuming that with that domain knowledge, the product can be built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. And what about geography? What's corridor? Is it the India-US corridor that's your primary mode of activity?
So we are focused on companies which have US as a primary focus market, and they could be building product anywhere else, either in other parts of US, outside of the main tech hubs, or places like India, or it could be Europe or other places. But we like this model, and we've been doing this for the past 5+ years, even before the pandemic. That's been our key focus. Is what that does is a dollar could go 3, 4, 5 times further in if you're building teams and products in these other places. And that's not just a cost advantage, it actually ends up being a very significant unfair advantage, if you will, where you can build 3 to 5 times more product for the same $2 million seed round or a 10 or 15 million Series A. That just can, you can serve customers better for the same amount of money, which then helps companies just become market leaders more quickly. So that's been our thesis, and we are open to companies from any part of the country or the world, but with a keen focus on the US as the core market. And we do have a fair number of companies which are in the US-India, which have the US-India model with US go-to-market and tech teams in India. We also have companies that have teams in places like Germany, Nebraska, Austin, Atlanta, a lot of other emerging tech hubs.
Great. So Anupam, let's do some case studies. Pick some of your favorite companies that are representative of how you invest, and tell us how you met them, how they came to you. What did they have that gave you conviction to write the checks? So maybe let's do 2 or 3 of these examples.
Sure. So yeah, maybe I will pick a few companies. One of our companies that is on a good trajectory is a company called Observe.ai, which is in the which does contact center automation, and that was a very early stage investment. It was pre-seed. Essentially, it was concept stage at that time, and we made that investment in 2017. My partner led that deal, and yeah, so the company does now is really they're helping automate more of the customer contact center experience. So whenever you call a call center, there's a agent that you're looking to speak with, and that experience has a lot of friction areas within it. Not a lot of people end up being happy with that today. Corporations end up spending a lot of money on it, and the people that are actually serving those calls don't have a lot of good tools. So Observe is really helping solve some of those issues by they have a voice AI solution that can listen into calls and can pick up issues around quality and compliance and other areas. And they built vertical AI, which goes a lot deeper than any other horizontal AI for this specific type of these type of use cases in the contact center. And that company has been on a very good trajectory since then. They are now about 4 or 5 years in. So they have hundreds of enterprise customers now across different industries. They've raised a lot more capital. They are 200 employees. Very strong product market with very high growth rates. And yeah, what we saw at that time was really very high quality team. So it's basically the 3 things I laid out earlier with the team side, lot to like about the team. The founder was previously an engineer at Twitter, and but they developed a very keen understanding of they were coming from the technology side at that time, and they developed a keen understanding of the space they're trying to target and how they'll solve these problems. And the specific use case morphed a bit over time. But yeah, that's one company that is further along for Emergent. And maybe, yeah, I'll talk about a more recent investment, a younger company. This is an unannounced company in the privacy space. They're helping developers, develop code that is more privacy friendly. There's a lot of, these regulations that have come up, including GDPR in Europe, CCPA, and others, where you need to be careful about what data is being stored, how it's being stored, and how it's being processed. And developers often have to manually think about that, and they may not necessarily want to educate themselves fully on all these regulations. So this company has built a set of scanners which can go through code to understand what the privacy implications may be, and that has a lot of intelligence around understanding what libraries are getting called and how the data is being stored. And so yeah, we co-led a seed round there, and yeah, they had good set of. So this was, I'd say, slightly beyond the idea stage, more at the pilot stage. They had a set of customers they already began talking to, and we connected them to several people from our network who are close to the space, sat through some of those meetings, and got a good handle that this seemed like a very wide need. And everyone agreed that, hey, if there's a tool like this, we would love to try it out because this is a key hot button topic right now. And then we also liked how the entrepreneurs were sort of taking that feedback and processing it, and they were able to sort of articulate their vision to prospective customers, and and then also how they're thinking of the long-term vision. So often that's one thing we see is marrying that short-term value proposition to customers versus the long-term vision, and doing that in a one is much more focused on here and now, the other is maybe looking further out and a little amorphous. And if you're able to do that convincingly, I think that helps. So yeah, we've seen many of those aspects there, and so yeah, we led around there recently. So yeah, those are two examples.
So my last question is a trend question. The B2B, enterprise B2B as well as SMB B2B tech, deep tech space has been, AI in particular, has been very hot for several years now. What are you seeing now that is new trends, or where do you think we are going vis-a-vis this market?
Yeah. So I'd say, we are really starting to see, first of all, taking a step back, I'd say I see the AI-led software approach as you could think of it as a fourth wave of software after, maybe if you take mainframe computing, on-premise computing, cloud and SaaS. Each of those waves has been, multi-decade, maybe 2 to 3 decade long trend, and the other trend then gets superimposed on that, and then each of those waves has been much larger, order of magnitude larger than the previous one. So cloud-based software has created over 100 public SaaS companies, over median valuation over maybe between 5 and 10 billion, many over 100 billion. So we see AI-led software is probably in year 5 or year 7 of a maybe 20, 30-year trend where it's going to just go deeper and deeper. And it's going to be well beyond just replacing existing software. What it's doing today already, we're starting to see early signs of that, is that it's just reinventing how business is done, whether it's sales, marketing, finance, customer service. A lot of those flows, which were entirely human led, and a lot of people were doing a lot of mundane manual work on some of those things. Software can take up a lot of those mundane parts of those, how those activities are done. And this is more at a micro level, not the entire function, but much more specific pieces there, and let the humans then be a lot more efficient with their work and focus more on the, tasks that require judgment and creativity and more softer skills. So that's the product theme, and we continue to see, more and more sort of, the wedges. You initially get in with a smaller wedge, and then it just sort of, you can keep growing it. So that's what we are seeing, is that So across actually most of those functions, we are seeing a lot of activity now where you start with a certain wedge, and then over time, the idea is to just reinvent how uh, this is done. I'll give you maybe another example. There's a company called Present where we are investors, and they're looking to reinvent how business communications are done, specifically in the context of business presentations, how those are created. And today, start with an empty PowerPoint or a Google slides, and then you're trying to each time just start a new presentation or just start with an old presentation. But then there's already so much data out there. There's only so many types of presentations, and there's proven best ways of communicating certain ideas. So this company leverages AI and a lot of data on millions of slides to really help you get started. With you just let the system know that, hey, I'm creating a presentation for a sales operations meeting, and I like a visual presentation, and I like it to be more data driven, and so on and so forth. And it just creates a flow for you, which is going to be much more impactful than what you may have, when anyone, like, there's hundreds of millions of workers today who are creating presentations, and what they would have done. So yeah, this is just an example, but a company like this could just reinvent, if things go well, how business communications are authored. So similarly, we have a lot of companies that are reinventing sales or marketing, or specific industry verticals is another area where we're seeing a lot of intelligence software within areas like logistics, supply chain. We have a company that's reinventing the media and entertainment industry and how content is procured and found. We're also seeing a lot of, let's say, another trend maybe I'll call out is a lot of companies which are trying to now build meta software, if you will, either software which helps you figure out which software to use, or software that actually helps you write software. We're starting to see folks do that. So a lot of low code, no code, but also software authoring software, and then dashboards which help you manage all this data, which has now with multiplicity of different tools and dashboards, other dashboards or intelligence software that brings together all of that and helps you actually act on it. So lots of different areas of activity across the spectrum, I'd say.
What about this craze about metaverse these days? Do you see that being relevant in the B2B realm?
So I'd say we haven't, I'd say, yeah, not in the, given that we're focused on the enterprise and B2B side, we haven't, I'd say, in the core focused on that, but on the periphery, we are starting to see, some overlaps. For example, I mentioned we have a company which is in the media and entertainment supply chain space. So we're starting to see providers there. There's about 500,000, content producers of scale overall globally. And this company indexes all of that using AI and what services they provide. So, it's called Vitrina, and they, companies like that would be often, from a content, as more VR and metaverse content gets created, there will be overlaps there. But I would say, yeah, that's not a core focus area for us. So just following that segment more from afar, I would say.
Great. All right. Well, I look forward to doing some work with you in the upcoming months and years. Thank you for sharing what you're doing and all the trends that you're seeing here today. We're going to switch to talking to some entrepreneurs here. Thank you very much for coming, Anupam.
Great. Thanks a lot for having me.
Of course.
Nice speaking with you. Thank you.
Dave, are you in the room? You had sent me an email asking to talk to me today. So, or rather, you wanted to start working on the program, and I suggested that, or Irina suggested that you come and talk to me today. So if you want to, Maureen, could you put Dave, his full name is Dave Narayan. Yeah, there we go, Dave Narayan Nair. Dave, you can unmute your computer audio, or you can dial in through the phone line, whichever way you want. So while you're working, Maureen, with Dave to get his audio connected, let me quickly run you through how to use 1Mby1M. If you like this program, please, by all means, spread the word. Everything, all resources are at 1Mby1M.com. We have a terrific blog that you can access for free and learn a lot from there. The Entrepreneur Journeys book series is a good starting point for learning. You can, learn a lot on different topics there.
Can you hear me?
These free roundtables happen every week. Over 200,000 people have attended. The premium program, 1 second, Dave, let me just finish this segment and I'll come to you in just a moment. The premium program is where we do the full acceleration work. So you have extensive methodology guidance, project-based coaching, you have the full curriculum access, we help you with business development, we have strategy consulting in private members-only roundtables. We have access to investors. We work with a network of many hundred investors. And the self-assessment is a very good tool that you should bookmark as you are working through your, whether it's investor pitch or just your internal strategic planning. These are questions that investors would ask you if you go to pitch, but I like to ask these questions of, companies in general so that you figure out how are you going to build your business. The free bootstrapping course that is pinned to the top of the blog is a very, very useful and effective thing that you should spend an hour on. It's less than an hour long, but it's going to help you tremendously in understanding how the industry really operates. You read the media and think that everybody gets funded, and in the free bootstrapping course, I tackle all these myths. Another learning tool is our set of Udemy courses. We have about 30 Udemy courses that you can also use to start your learning. Our entire curriculum is available on a monthly subscription basis as 1M1M Basic. So many, many different ways that you can learn. And the website is where you will find details about what to expect from premium, what to expect from basic, FAQs, video FAQs, full description of the curriculum, and so on and so forth. So it is a case study-based program. We have a lot of case studies, and the case studies are very useful to learn from. You basically get to walk in the footsteps of other people, what they've done, how they've succeeded. So it's not just me teaching you the program, it's thousands of successful entrepreneurs sharing with you their journeys, and you can learn from their journeys. The investor introductions have a specific policy, so please make sure you go through that if that's part of your desire in joining the program. Our philosophy is do not go to investors as beggars, go as kings. Bootstrap first, raise money later. And that is all. We have roundtables every week in April still. We are ready for Q&A. We'll start with Dave. Dave, go ahead. Tell me a little bit about where you are located, and you've been doing the services business for 12 years. What kind of expertise do you have in the company, etc.?
Okay, great. Thanks, Shravana. We are based in Kochi, in Kerala. I mean, I'm sure you must be familiar with.
I gave a Thai keynote in 2012.
Oh, really? Okay. So I hope you had a good experience in Kochi.
A great experience. We had a wonderful travel around Kerala and so forth. I have very fond experience, memories.
Excellent. So yeah, based out of Kochi, I founded this company in 2009, and we have been. We are still a very small boutique product engineering company that helps startups and small to medium enterprises in building their products. Either it's an MVP or prototype or a fully functional product that can go into the market.
Okay.
And the areas that we focus on are cloud and mobility. That's one, where we help people build a product based on cloud or has a mobile user interface, and also we help clients set up their infrastructure in AWS, Azure, etc., migrate their legacy systems from their on-premise servers to cloud, and also set up DevOps tools. So product engineering and also setting up the infrastructure. These are the two core focus areas that we help companies. A small team, around nearly 100 people now. And
all in Kochi.
The focus has always been, keeping a small but happy bunch of people as a family. But now, after COVID, the aspirations of people have started changing. One core strength of Alignments has always been the culture. But when the remote working mode has started, I felt it has started getting diluted because people were confined in the room, so we couldn't meet them and share that bond. And I also see some key people leaving because of this 2-year gap, and so the aspirations of people have started changing, and I felt that they want more exposure, more growth, more bigger companies. So, and I thought it's a time to introspect and see why shouldn't I look at scaling and growing more than keeping it as it is for a considerable period of time. And that's why when I started looking at resources online and came across 1Mby1M, I was impressed by what was written, and I also listened to some of your talks and felt that this could give us some insights into where we want to go.
Do you remember how you found us?
Sorry, Shravana?
Do you remember how exactly you found us? When you say online, how online? Google search online, or what? How did you? We are always curious to see how people come to us.
Well, actually, to be precise, I was looking for, I was typing this keyword lead generation LinkedIn, and then one blog came up, and that blog cited you as an example of how to manage the LinkedIn community, you being an influencer and how you post, which community you target, and the relevance of your post. When I read that, I got interested, and then I tried to find out about you, and then that led me to 1Mby1M. So that was the journey.
Interesting, very interesting. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
So coming back to your company, Dave, how revenue-wise, what kind of scale are you at?
Right now we are at 1.5 million USD. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you get your projects? Is it all word of mouth? Is there a particular channel that is producing for you? What's been the experience?
Yeah. The experiences of, I have never been very aggressive going after. So we had a set of clients, and they always used to they always stuck with us, and they referred us to other people. And since we are not very big, that was enough. You see, there wasn't a lot of effort on the sales and marketing front. We just got our projects through the existing customers and their references. But now, when I want to scale, I do want to build a client base in addition to what we already have, and then scale. And I'm looking at ways to do that.
There are two ways that you can scale a services company. One is you can expand your client base, and we can look at ways of doing that, and applying methodologies, applying positioning points, and so forth. That's one way. There's also another thing that we do a lot of in this program is bootstrapping, using services to more of a productized business. So if there is, and this is something that, as you start doing the 1Mby1M, as you sign up after the session, I would encourage you to sign up for the premium program and then start doing the curriculum. And as you start doing the curriculum, you'll see that in bootstrapping with services, we have, we have a lot of companies that have used their services backgrounds to also build products. And that's a very scalable. Productization is a very, much faster growth path, to building companies where it is not only dependent on scaling by adding headcount, but also scaling by, being able to sell products. It is a different mode, slightly different mode of looking at it. So I don't want you to answer this question right now of which direction do you want to go. We have both going on as you come into the premium roundtables, you will see you have like compatriots like yourself who have, good services companies, but are, looking for ways to grow, and they're doing both. Some are, using the techniques they're learning in 1Mby1M to increase their footprint in a services space by going deep into a particular core competency area, expertise area, and figuring out ways to go that route. And I will give you very definitive pointers on how to explore that path. And then there is also this other path, and one may lead to the other. So now that I have a reasonable understanding of what your kind of basic situation is, I'm very confident that we'll be able to move you to the next level.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I'll definitely sign up, Shravana. And I always had thought about, because since we have built products for other companies like startups, we know how to do it, and we also have thought of interesting ideas.
Exactly.
But my worry was always has been that, so where will my focus be on? Because at one end, I have to look after one reason the clients are sticking with us because we give a lot of attention. I personally give a lot of attention to them, and building and scaling a product. Selling and marketing a product requires a lot of dedication and focus. So this was always confused me. So if you can suggest some pointers.
There's a bridge. There's a way to do that more organically and not in a very kind of jarring way. So we'll discuss all that. So I would request you, once you join the program, spend some time on the curriculum, especially the core curriculum, before next week's roundtable. Next week we'll have a private roundtable on Wednesday, and Maureen can schedule you to discuss there. But if you can get a little bit of curriculum work done before you come to that, that would be awesome.
We'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Okay, very good. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Shravana.
All right. Andy, you want to talk? You can dial in. Folks, those of you who have questions about the program can also contact Irina at 1Mby1M.com. So please feel free to reach out to her. Andy, you can just turn your computer audio on and you can speak through that. Otherwise, just speak through the public chat, and I'll take your questions or whatever from the public chat, and see whatever questions you have, I'll answer them right away. In terms of invitations, my speaking engagements are all managed by Maureen. So you have to reach out to Maureen with specific details, and she picks which speaking engagements I do. I don't do everything that comes to us. So please manage your expectations. Are you on the call, Andy? Folks, I have something quite urgent actually right after this call, so I don't want to stick around too long. Andy, are you on the call? It sounds like you're on the call, so just speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Go ahead.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, hi. Wow, I didn't expect to get through. Well, I'm not really a real entrepreneur, so I'm just kind of somebody who's learning how to code, and it's taken a very long time. And uh, so, yeah, I guess I don't.
So the program is for entrepreneurs, and if you want me to spend time with you, I would like to spend time with entrepreneurs. There's another question I'm going to take. If you don't have a question about how to be an entrepreneur, how to succeed as an entrepreneur, I'd like to take the next question. So tell me quickly, do you have a question about entrepreneurship?
In those terms, I guess not.
Okay, great. No problem. Abhijit Sengupta is asking, good evening, do you prefer organic growth or exponential growth, which is advisable or more manageable for startups? We are open to either one, Abhijit. The mission of 1 million by 1 million is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. Million companies are not going to have exponential growth. So we support both organic growth and exponential growth, and it depends on the business, it depends on the entrepreneur. Not all businesses are amenable to exponential growth, but those that are, we help them in that direction, and those that are not, we help them grow organically. Does that answer your question? If I do not have a successful startup model, can I join 1M program? Yes, you can. You can join the program, start learning, and you can come up with a startup idea within the program. So yes, you can use the program to start studying the curriculum, attending the roundtables, asking questions, etc., and come up with a startup idea within the program. Yes, you can do that. And by the way, 1M is not a traditional accelerator in the sense that we don't have this notion of 3 months and then you graduate and you move on. 1M is an ongoing program. So many entrepreneurs have stayed in the program for several years as they develop their ideas and develop their businesses. So we operate very differently. And we can, work with you at various stages, all the way from the earliest stage, pre-idea, pre-concept stage, all the way to significant revenue stage. I've worked with companies that are, billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar companies. So I have no problems working with you, even if you're slightly more mature and you're looking for help. Anybody else? Abhijit, if you're trying to come up with an idea to work on, is that your stage? You're looking for an idea to start zeroing in on and start building something? Is that where you are? If so, that is completely doable within the program. You're very welcome to join the program. You're figuring out whether entrepreneurship can be taught. Entrepreneurship is being taught. We've been teaching entrepreneurship for a very long time. So yes, obviously it can be taught. I think if you're you shouldn't be joining the program to learn whether entrepreneurship can be taught. Entrepreneurship can be taught. You need to join the program only if you want to learn how to be an entrepreneur. If you're trying to figure out the steps on how to put one foot before the other to become an entrepreneur, that is what this program is for. Don't become academic about it. We are training on entrepreneurs at scale. So obviously entrepreneurship can be taught. Okay, I think we're going to adjourn for today. I don't see any other hand up. I have a lot of stuff right after this. So Maureen, I'm going to call you right back. Talk to you soon. I will see you next week, premium members or people who are starting to become premium members. I'll see you at next Wednesday's private roundtable and then the rest at the public roundtable. Bye, everybody. Thank you.